Hey, welcome, music lovers. I am your host, Byron Duff, and this is Musical Miles Podcast, and I'm here with Mr. Dave Stamey.
Good morning.
Hey, we are at the National Cowboy Poetry Gathering in Elko, Nevada.
The 40th.
The 40th. How many years have you been here?
Oh my goodness. I haven't been here 30, but it's creeping up to that.
Wow, that's impressive. So, the first time we saw you was here, actually, at the 10th. Was it the 10th? No. No, I was here at the 10th. I saw Murph the 10th.
I was here the 10th.
Were you here the 10th?
Yeah.
And maybe I saw you at the 10th. But then we saw you 2011. We saw you here with Adrian at the 3G.
Oh, okay.
And then I got to see you in Pendleton, Oregon at the Slick Fork Saloon.
Slick Fork, yeah, Parley Pierce's deal.
Yeah, that was a cool deal. Well, Miss Shanda is actually a sure-tell relative of Parley Pierce.
Oh,
and
cool.
We love the Hamleys. That's such a cool building.
Yeah.
And now, of course, they don't own it anymore. The tribe bought it.
The tribe got it, yeah. Uh-huh.
But Pat Beard was kind of running that store at the time. Do you remember Pat?
I do.
Yeah, Pat's a great guy and a good friend of mine. In fact, Pat got me set up with a guy by the name of Cody Odom, who I believe you know as well.
I have met Cody.
So Cody is over the music deal at he's kind of produces the music deal during the NFR at the Westgate. And so we actually got to set up and do our podcast interviews at the Westgate this year. So it was really, really a cool deal. And we got to meet a lot of great artists and got to interview Cor Blund and Chancey Williams and Chad Prather and so it was fun. But thanks for taking the time. I know this is a busy time when you guys get here. You get pulled lots of directions. Every wants a piece of Dave Stamey. And so we've been fans of yours for a long time, since the first time we saw you.
Well, thank you.
We've listened to your music for many, many years. So I spent 13 years in the cowboy rope business. I ran a company in Idaho Falls, Idaho called Cowboy Cordage. And we used to make a sales trip to California. Mm-hmm. And so we listened to your CDs. And, of course, the world's changed a lot. The music world's changed. Now it's everybody streaming. And
yeah.
So, but back in the day.
The digital revolution, or whatever they call it.
Whatever they call it.
Whatever it is.
But we listened to your CDs on that trip. And you had a song on there about the Mission Trail, right?
I have
one of those.
About the mission,
about
Mission Bell.
It's
Bells. Called the Mission Bell. Yeah.
Okay, but we did the Mission Trail. We stopped at all those missions. And what a cool deal! I mean, a lot of cool history.
It's. I'm glad that they have restored or maintaining some of those missions.
Yeah.
Some of them are gone, but
are they?
Yeah. Yeah. Soledad Mission is almost gone.
Okay.
But it was never. It was never restored or maintained, and but yeah, the ones that are, I'm really happy to see.
Yeah, well, you're kind of a modern day troubadour that sings about the bygone eras of the Wild Wild West, and of course the Californios days, and the Buckaroos, and that's all very interesting to me, because I always thought myself as a budding horseman. I'm an old man now, and I don't even own a horse, but love the horses and love the buckaroos and the ranching history. And that's what's so cool about the National Cowboy Poetry Gathering, is that it brings everybody together, and then you can share those songs and the poems and the stories. Yeah,
and my whole philosophy about this is the fact that the rural American West is probably one of the most underrepresented portions of our population. It's never addressed in the media, the mass media, or on television, or whatever however you get your news.
Sure.
They're never mentioned. They're never talked about. And so I kind of take it as my job to celebrate that culture and to all the different aspects that become involved in that culture. And So that's what kind of keeps me going.
Sure, sure. Well, you've been at this for a long time, 30 plus years.
Yeah, every bit of that, every bit of 30.
Yeah, and but kind of got your start. But I've read some things and heard some interviews with you about the first. Oh, there was about a 10-year period where you wanted to be the next John Steinbeck, right?
Yeah. I was wanted to be the great American novelist, and
Yeah,
I worked at that pretty hard.
yeah.
Yeah.
And any of that stuff ever get published or?
Oh, yeah. Well, not really. No. I wrote probably, I'd have to go back and check, but I think something in the neighborhood of 9 novels, all of which I would fight to the death right now to keep out of print. I don't want anybody seeing that stuff.
So they didn't make the New York bestsellers
They
list.
certainly did not, and
No.
matter of fact, they didn't see print. But
Okay.
I got as far as having a pretty high-powered agent in New York City,
Yeah.
and it fell through. It fell through. It didn't happen, and I know why now, because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing.
Sure, sure. Well, and then it took. Let's go back to your music first part of your music career, your music life. You started to play the guitar pretty young, right?
Oh, I think about the age everybody starts, 12, 13 years old.
Okay.
Somewhere in there. That's when, if something's going to bite you and get you, that's about the time
Yeah.
That's about the time you discover your
Yeah,
interests.
that's kind of the cowboy thing hit me. I'm an Idaho farm boy that always wanted to be a cowboy,
Sure.
and of course, growing up, I'm a little a year or two younger than you, but not by much. But we grew up watching Roy Rogers and Gene Autry and
every other show on television was Western back in them days. And,
yeah. We all wanted to be cowboys, and we all had the
Absolutely.
pistols and cat
bet.
guns and played cowboys and Indians, which is
You
not
bet.
politically correct today. So I got to tell you a funny story. My grandkids call me cowboy, and so we inherited some grandchildren when our oldest got married. He had some stepkids, and so we were headed to a birthday party, and Miss Shanda said to me, she said, well, I got to sign this card. How do you want to sign it? And at the time, I was in the rope business and wore a cowboy hat every day. And I said, well, man, I want to be cowboy. I got a brother-in-law who's a retired Navy guy. He was a senior master chief, and his grandkids call him chief. And I said, that way, when we get together with our grandkids, we can play cowboys and Indians. And so anyway, my grandkids to this day call me cowboy, and they call me Shanda Glam. And so it's fun. But that's a moniker that I wear proudly.
Sure.
The cowboy culture and as well as you. And so you started out pretty young playing the guitar. What was your first guitar?
It was some Sears and Roebucks or Monkey Ward 3/4 size plywood guitar, and it was, I think the strings were like 3/4 of an inch at the 12th fret. It was, you could use it to slice cheese. It was that bad, but I was determined. And I'll tell you what, if you had one of those Monkey Ward guitars, and you went on ahead and you learned how to play guitar, in spite of that instrument, then you really wanted to learn, and you really meant it. And I did. I stuck with it. My fingers, they hurt even now. I think about it. And
it made you a great guitar player, because I'm in awe of your guitar playing skills.
Oh,
I love to listen to you
I've got
play.
a whole bunch of gaps in that skill set, and it's but yeah, I managed to get around it, and so that was my first guitar, and I didn't graduate till a decent guitar until I was probably my late teens.
Okay. Which was, what did you go to?
It was an early Takamine.
Okay.
Early Takamine, pre-lawsuit Takamine,
Okay.
which I really wished I had now.
Because that was, didn't they get sort of over they copied the Martin or something?
Yeah, well,
right?
they are a carbon copy of Martin's, from everything from the bracing to the actual wood they used. It was a very high quality instrument.
Okay.
It was to the point where now you can go on eBay and you can find these pre-war Martins, pre-war Takamines, and they've aged, and they're gorgeous instruments.
Oh, I can imagine.
They're gorgeous instruments.
I got to tell you a story. You know who Buddy Cannon is, the producer from Nashville, songwriter, producer. His daughter, Marla Cannon Goodman, we interviewed her at a songwriter festival in Montana back last fall. But she told a story about a Takamine. She has one that her dad had that was a gift from Dean Dillon, gave it to her dad. And they got to drinking one night, and they thought it'd be funny to stomp it, and they broke which was crazy, but they broke the headstock off of it, and they glued it. And she said, to this day, that's one of the most beautiful sounding guitars. And she said, every once in a while, she said her dad will call her and say, hey, Marla, can I borrow my guitar back? But anyway, it's a funny Takamine story. But so what are you playing now?
I've
favorite.
got
I'm sure you have many.
My favorite is, I've got more guitars than I need, but for years I ran with a 710 Taylor, and that was my road guitar for about 15, 18 years. And then I upgraded to a Santa Cruz D12. Which is a gorgeous instrument. It's a wonderful instrument.
Okay.
I used it probably on the road exclusively for 10 years, and I started worrying about it, and because they get a little fragile.
Yeah,
And I kind of don't like to take it out on the road anymore because it's such a delicate instrument, and it's so fine.
Well, and there's so many fluctuations in the temperature.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You're in and out of the car. And, and you travel to cold climates from California.
I fly quite a bit, and I have an airline case because there's no place to put a guitar on an airline anymore, on an airplane anymore. And
so do you have to check it?
I have to check it. So I've got one of these Calton cases. And for both what I'm using now is a D28 Martin.
Okay.
Which I've wanted for a long time, and it's a fine instrument, and I'm pretty happy with that.
Well, I've played lots of Martins. I always thought I always wanted a Martin, and I started at 15 is when I picked up the guitar, 14, 15, but then I ended up trading my guitar for ropes, and and the horse deal just tore me up for many, many years. And so, I picked the guitar up and play it, and I drug it around. My mom bought me a Yamaha. I think it's an FG75. I just had the neck reset on it because I could never keep it in tune, and that was one reason I didn't play. But a year ago, I decided that someday I'm going to retire and I need to play the guitar. So I play every day, and I'm still terrible. But one of my favorite songs to practice, and I still suck at it, but is Campfire Waltz. I love that song. And it's easy for me. The chords are easy enough that
I don't do anything very complicated.
Don't you?
No.
Well, they say 3 chords and the truth, right? And
That's
if you know 3 or 4 or 6 chords, you can play hundreds, if not thousands, of songs.
Well, there's an old, I don't know if it's true or not, maybe apocryphal, but there's an old Hank Williams story where some kid come and asked Hank to give him some guitar lessons. He says, "Can you give me some pointers? I've learned C, G, and F," and Hank says, "Hell, Hoss, that's all he is."
There's probably some truth to that.
Yeah, there is.
C, G, D, and E minor.
It may have been G, C, D, but
yeah.
Either way.
Well, F was a tough one for me. I still can't play a bar chord, but I can play that cheater F chord. So.
Yeah, you throw that thumb over the top.
Yeah, and I even have such little hands. I have trouble holding that thumb over the top. But so you have got so many. We could do a full podcast just about your awards and accolades.
Oh well.
But 8 times. Performer of the Year in the International.
I think it's only 7.
Is it 7?
I think it's 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, somebody lied to me. 7 times male performer.
Yeah, 7 and 7.
5 times songwriter.
Yeah.
So what songs did you remember? The 5 that you got for songwriter, the songs?
Well, off the top of my head, no. Well, Come Ride With Me was one.
Love that song.
I think Montana was one.
Oh, that's another great song.
I think. And then Land Where Cedars Grow, that's one of them.
Okay.
The other ones, I'm not sure what.
Not Vaquero's not one of them?
Might have been.
Buckaroo?
No, Vaquero, because Vaquero, I wrote that 25 years ago, so that was before I ever started getting any awards. But
Okay.
yeah, so I don't think that was a song of the year. But I don't know. Yeah, I just
Yeah. Well, you're extremely talented. Have you collaborated much on the songwriting, or is that all personal? And
it's all pretty personal.
what I thought.
I did a couple of songs with a guy named Les Buffum back in the olden days, and I wrote a song with Richard Aloyan and Ken Graydon at somewhere west of Laramie. That was a co-write,
Okay.
and that's about it. My third grade report card said does not play well with others. So I find it a real personal challenge to write. I don't.
Is it a challenge to?
I'm not much on committee art.
Do you? Is it a challenge the same to perform with another artist, to have them collaborate with you on stage, or?
No, I don't care about that.
No?
That's fine. Yeah, that's a whole nother deal.
Yeah.
Performing, and that's just entertaining people. It's I don't hold that as close to my heart as I do writing. Writing is what I
Sure.
do.
Well, and what I read or heard in an interview with you was that you never really wrote a song until you were in your 30s.
Yeah.
So you spent all those years writing novels,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of, but that probably prepared you in a lot of ways to
It
be
did.
a songwriter.
It did. It's the reason I think that people talk about my songs being so visual. It comes from that. I'm sure it comes from that.
Well, there's no doubt. You can paint a picture with a very fine tip. I would say you're more of a pen and ink, very fine-tuned songwriter. Very visual to me.
Mm-hmm.
So even Campfire Waltz, just
Sure.
it's just such a great song. Well, all of your songs, because they really bring the picture to your mind as you listen to the songs.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to do.
And well,
Transport you a bit.
some songwriters write with a very broad brush. It's pretty basic.
Everybody does it the same, a different way.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's all subjective. So
Sure. So since '96, was that your first album in '96?
no, I think I actually had a couple of I had a couple of cassette albums earlier than
Okay.
that. It goes back to about 92, 93, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Yeah, and somebody sent me a copy of those cassette albums recently, and I'm going, wow,
Who is this guy?
who is this guy? I don't even have any way to play it anymore.
Well,
the
none of
cassette
us do.
album.
Well,
Yeah.
even we talked about the change in the music world. CDs, you can't even get a car with a CD player in it.
I know but then again, the people that come and see me, they had to wait till they wrecked the truck that had the 8-track in it before they got a CD player. So they're still buying CDs. I had got a new album that came out
Right.
in December, and so I had CDs.
You still burn some CDs?
Well, absolutely. I had 1,000.
That's amazing, because we've interviewed a lot of artists that just don't anymore. They just don't do. Vinyl has made a resurgence.
Yeah.
Do you do much vinyl?
I did for a short period of time there during COVID.
Okay.
But it's so expensive.
Yeah.
So expensive, yeah. And then there's not any profit in it at all.
Okay.
And I personally have a problem selling, putting a $30, $35, $40 price tag on anything that
Yeah.
I make. And it's a single album. It's like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. It
And
is
the
expensive.
people I play for don't. They don't
well,
buy that stuff.
If my folks were still alive, they had a vinyl player, right?
Yeah.
They had a record player in the house. That's what we grew up listening to.
Of course.
Ray Price and Sonny
Yeah.
James and
Sure.
Eddie Arnold and all those great old oldies. But Miss Shanda's mom was a songwriter in Arizona, and so she had a grand piano in her house, and so a standard grand, and played it constantly. But we loved those old songs, the old cowboy stuff. But speaking of your new album that came out in December, Porch Music, gave it a good listen. My two favorites on there is Wild Again.
Yeah.
I like that song. That's a great song.
That came out of the COVID deal.
Did it?
Yeah. Actually, most of these songs did. It was a period there where I did nothing. Everything was shut down, so I just stayed home and wrote songs.
Right. Well, and then the rodeo parade.
Jack, yeah.
I love that. So that's really inspired by a real life person?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
From the rodeo parade in what town?
Santa Maria, California.
Santa Maria.
Yeah.
Okay.
We lived very near there for 25 years, my late wife and I. And Jack was a real guy. He was in charge of the rodeo parade, and he'd stand up on that little stage they had built with the little bleachers next to him, and he always had that crumply straw hat on and a ridiculous little neckerchief around his neck, and he had his breeches stuffed, his slacks stuffed in his pee-wee boots, and he always told the same old sorry jokes every year, and he was an icon in that parade. And
yeah, but what a way to remember a guy like that.
Sure.
Those old characters like that are few and far between. You and I are becoming the old timers.
Yeah, well,
right?
aren't we though?
Yeah, that's what I say.
I'm entering the geezer hood.
Yeah. Our children think we're kind of geezers. At least me, not their mom. They like their mom, but they're not too sure about their dad in my social media posts. In fact, we posted a deal yesterday. I posted it yesterday morning, but we went out and filmed a little deal for our Facebook to promote the podcast that we were coming to Elko to the gathering and actually used your "Ride with Me" song on it.
Sure.
So it was kind of fun, but I'm sure our kids were embarrassed all to pieces. So. Yeah, I had me hitchhiking down the road with that guitar case, and she come along and picked me up.
There you go.
Anyway, so it was fun. But no, this is such a cool deal. Now, we're trying to remember because we're old. We can't remember. But you've been here 30 times. We think this is my fourth and Miss Shanda's third. Mm-hmm. So, we've became fans of yours here, and as well as Adrian, Ian. We got to see Ian play. I think the same night with you and Adrian, and Ian played at the 3-Bar G.
Yeah, that was probably so.
Yeah, and I don't remember who else. They had a couple of poets in there. I think maybe was it Joel Nelson.
That may have been. How long ago was that?
We want to say 2011.
Okay, we did a thing. We did a couple of things. Bryn Hill had a son who had.
Cancer or something, yeah.
Brain cancer situation. So, he ended up coming out of it.
Oh,
right.
Great! I wondered.
But Ian put together a benefit.
Okay.
One night there at the 3G bar.
Okay.
And Adrian wouldn't have been on that because
No.
he when he called me, he says, "We're going to do this thing," he says, "and there's not going to be any poets and no women." Okay, all right, Ian. And that was his plan. So it may have been that. We didn't have any poets, and it was all music. But.
Well, we saw a couple of shows there, and I think we saw that show as well as one other time with Adrian. I know you were with Adrian, and I know Ian was with Adrian that one time as well. But so it could have been two different events.
Hard to say. I mean, it's they all blur.
Yeah. Well, we do. That was the year though, 2011. We showed up in town with a guy I used to work for in the rope business. Him and his wife, and we went to dinner at Bill Tokey's, which is no more, right? And we're sitting in the bar having dinner, and the four of us, and there was two other couples sitting next to us, and Baxter walked in the door, and he looked back at me and he waved, and I waved back like he knew me, and which he didn't. We'd met one other time, but I think in an airport.
He would have remembered you.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So he walked over and he leaned down to me and he goes, "Do you know these folks over here?" And I said, well, we've been visiting with them. They seem to be really nice folks. And I said, why? And he said, well, the only way this is going to work is if we slide these two tables together. And he sat down and had dinner with us. Yeah. And I never laughed so hard. And what a treat. What a night that was. But, yeah, and then, yeah, that's right. The next day, we showed up here at the convention center. He asked us, he said, are you coming to my show tomorrow? He said, well, we don't have tickets, but we're going to see if we can get some tickets. And he says, well, I'm not offering you any free tickets, but if you make it to the show, he says, anyway. So we visited, and we showed up here the next day, and we run into him in the lobby. And he said, hey, do you guys remember me talking to a lady named Miss V? And I'm like, no. Why? And he goes, well, she said that I told her she could open for me today. Now, he's probably funning us. You probably know this lady. Do you know this lady?
Yeah, I do.
And I'm sure she was already on the schedule to open for, but he was making a big deal out of it. I don't know her, and she said I said she could open for me. Anyway, but it was fun. But we got some good memories from here in Elko, and of course you got to love the Basque food when you come to town.
Yeah, I'm probably going to do lunch over there today.
Are you?
Yeah, I have a hard time getting into those places because by the time that I'm done doing whatever I'm doing and I want to go eat, everybody's already there.
Right.
And it's hard to get in. So I don't like crowds. And
we walked in we go early because we're old, so we got to eat dinner, like 5:30.
Yeah,
It was 4:30 here, yeah, but 5:30 in Idaho. So we went into dinner and we got right in and sat down, and it got busy. And by the time we got done, we walked out, and this place is packed.
Yeah.
And of course, there's Murph, and there's Bren and Andy and all these guys that we're going to interview this week or today, actually, most of them. And so I went around and visited with each one of them for a minute. But I'm sure you get in there and people won't leave you alone, and you're recognizable everywhere you go, especially here.
That's usually not a problem. I don't have a problem with that, but it's just there's too many people. I tend to get a little wall-eyed.
You're a little better one-on-one, or
I'm a little better one-on-one.
Yeah, cool. Well, a couple more things I wanted to ask you. So, what is your favorite album? Is it always the latest one, or you got one in the?
Yeah, right now, it is the latest one. Before that, Western Stories was my favorite for a long time.
Okay.
And I just really liked the writing on that, and the writing that I did on that. And 12 Mile Road is a very personal album for me, and so I always been. It didn't do as well as some of the other ones, but it's always been one of my favorites.
I like that song. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this one, the Porch music, though, right now, I'm pretty. I find that I can listen to it.
Oh, that's another question. What does Dave Stamey listen to besides your own music? I mean, obviously.
I'm all over the place.
Are you?
Oh yeah, I'm all over the place. I'll listen to anything from Frank Sinatra to Leonard Cohen to. Yeah, all kinds of different stuff. And
who really inspired your music?
Hank Williams probably was the start.
Okay.
But everything else, I mean, it's been an ongoing thing. Leonard Cohen, for one. I mean, I love really, really good songwriters. Jimmy Webb is just an astounding talent.
Okay.
So I study that kind of stuff. I don't listen for pleasure as much as I do for, what's he doing?
Okay.
That kind of a thing. So
Yeah,
I always have a calculation in mind when I put anybody on. I want to listen. Okay, how did he do that? What did he do? What's the structure? What's he using? And so it's kind of a curse. It robs me of a lot of pleasure, but
yeah. So another question: Who would you like to work with that's still living? Who would be an ideal someone to not so much collaborate with songwriting-wise, because you say that's kind of a personal thing, but even just to perform with, that you've never had the chance to?
Oh, I think I would. I'd love to share a stage with Robert Earl Keen. I think I would love to share a stage with Lyle Lovett.
two of our favorites. We
Yeah,
actually have got to hang out with them backstage.
Yeah,
we got to meet them both.
pretty amazing
They actually
artists.
performed together in Idaho Falls.
Yeah, I've seen that songwriting thing that they do there.
Yeah, what a great.
Yeah, and there's some there. I don't think about it too much because I've had the good luck to perform with some of the greats. I mean, I've worked with Tom Russell. I've worked with Tyson several times.
Yeah.
And, he even cooked me breakfast one day. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing a thing up in Alberta. There it is in Longview. And,
Yeah.
he said, "Oh, come on out for breakfast." And so and I washed his dishes for him, and he was really tickled with that. So. Yeah, we had a nice time. So he was always nice to me. He didn't suffer fools very well.
No, I don't imagine.
And so he was, and he tended to be pretty a private person, and I never pressed him, and he appreciated that.
Sure.
Yeah, so.
Well, yeah, we had the pleasure of interviewing Corb Lund, and Corb was was close to
Very much so.
Ian, and
Yes, very much
and he's a very interesting guy because he was I think he's very private as well.
Sure.
And but we had a great interview with him, and it was fun. So
Corb was very talented.
yeah,
he was instrumental in keeping Tyson going when Tyson wanted to quit after he lost his voice the first time.
okay,
And Corb was the one that says, "No, you need to be out there.
Yeah.
You need to still be out there." And so he did. He did. And so I think we all owe Corb a debt of gratitude for that.
for sure. Well, so what else? How do you want to be remembered, Dave Stamey? What do you want them to say about you when you're like Tyson? Tyson's gone. Lots of people revered Tyson and respected his music and his talent, his songwriting. And,
No, I just want to be known as a good writer.
okay.
That's pretty much what I want.
Yeah. Well, I think you've etched your way into that. I think your pen has worked well for you, and we are fans and love your music.
Well, thank you very much.
And in awe of your guitar playing. Literally, I'm serious. I listen to you play, and I just I have goals to someday get through a song without screwing it up. I'm putting. I hear that a lot, but I'm putting some pressure on myself. I've decided that I'm going to make myself, and I've done two. I missed a week already, but post a video of me playing the guitar so that I get up every morning and pour my coffee and sit in my office and play that stupid thing.
No, that's what you need to do.
And Miss Shanda actually, every once in a while, she'll send me a text from the other room and say, "Hey, are you playing this?"
No, she recognizes it.
Yeah,
So, hey,
which
you're
is
making progress.
which is a plus.
You're making progress.
Well, speaking of that, we don't want to take up too much of your time. We try to keep these short and interesting. We wander around a little bit, and we're a little raw and gritty in our interviewing techniques, but we appreciate you taking the time. This is always, once again, big fan.
My pleasure.
Would you grab that guitar behind you and play us a song, if you would? You play us something, maybe something from the new album.
Yeah, we can do that. Well, let's see here. See if I can find a pick.
Oh, I was going to say,
I've got one in my pocket here.
Okay. Well, yeah, if you're a real guitar
do
player.
this. This one is it's off the new record, and I'm dating myself. For the sake of the moon, I'll stay here a minute. A vision in silver, it'll vanish too soon. She's shining so brightly, there's a smile there within it. So I'll wait a while for the sake of the moon. The hour is late, I should move along, but I hear the stars and they're humming the tune. If places we linger are where we belong, and I'll linger here for the sake of the moon. Such an artist at work to please and inspire. The least we can do is stop and admire for the sake of the moon. Put my worries aside, for this is a moment that'll vanish too soon. If places we linger are where we belong, and I'll linger here for the sake of the moon. I'll linger here for the sake of the moon.
Oh, thank you so much. That's a beautiful tune.
Thank
Here,
you.
will you autograph the guitar for me?
Oh, sure.
Add your autograph. We got a little. We got some Ned Ledoux on there, and Gary Braun, and
Ned Ledoux, very nice young man.
what a great guy, and what a great interview that was. That was so fun.
Yeah. Very
but-
talented, very nice young man.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, well, we look forward to your show this evening with Trinity. But thanks again for taking the time to visit with us. This has been a lot of fun. It's always fun to get to know you guys and hear your stories and a little bit of the backstory. So thanks again.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, we appreciate you. Hey, for Musical Miles Podcast, we'll see you somewhere down the road. Thanks, Dave.
You bet.